Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and I just got back from an incredible trip to Copenhagen, Denmark, partially for business, but also partially to get a chance to spend some more time with the creator of LEGO BIONICLE and the co-creator of so many other LEGO themes, Christian Faber. Now, Christian Faber is probably the biggest LEGO celebrity that you may have never heard of, because not only was he responsible for a lot of the ideas behind BIONICLE and shepherded the theme throughout its 10-year run, but he also was directly involved in so many other themes, like creating the LEGO Star Wars logo, packaging, advertisements, and commercials, to working on LEGO Exoforce, Knight's Kingdom, Castle, Pirates, Space, you name it. If there's a classic LEGO theme, he was probably involved. And so, let's sum up my incredible trip to Copenhagen, touring some used LEGO stores with Christian Faber, getting a chance to meet the team over at his company, Copenhagen Rig, going on a full-on tour of the place itself, and of course, taking home some amazing LEGO goodness from my museum at the same time. So, let's jump into it right now. Okay, so where to even begin with this? Much like my last trip to Billund, Denmark last September, where I had to lie to you, the viewers, as to why I was actually there, the real reason was not only was I there for Fan Media Days, where all of the LEGO influencers get to see the next year's sets, but I also was there to work on my LEGO set, which is coming out very soon, myself and Roberts, from LEGO Masters Season 4, because of course we had won by that time, but I couldn't tell anyone. So, I had to basically just say, you know, I just decided to go to Denmark for 2 weeks, I think it was 2.5 weeks, last September, and I swear it was totally all just for Fan Media Days, a 3-day period. Well, much like that trip, I also have to not necessarily lie, but obscure the nature of this particular trip to Denmark, but I can actually tease something really exciting. I actually was going to Denmark in conjunction with something that I've been building up for one of my side ventures and startups, and that hasn't even been announced yet, so I can't really get into the details as to why I was there. But while I was in Copenhagen, Denmark, I can't go to Denmark without visiting the legend Christian Faber. So of course, there's a lot of story to tell, so buckle up, because this is going to be another crazy Duckbricks vlog retelling video. So, unlike my last trip to Denmark, which was a very nice, almost arguably too long, 2.5 weeks, we almost had too little time this time. You see, I had to go in between work, and thankfully, we went during a time where Monday was a holiday, so I got a chance to go on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then fly back on Tuesday, just in time for my first work meeting on Tuesday morning. I love time zones. So, because of that, I essentially had 3 full days in Denmark. And you bet, it's not a Duckbricks vlog video if I mention that I slept at any point in the journey. Because I did, but not that much. So let me explain. Essentially, what happened was I flew out Friday afternoon, evening after work, and it was a pretty long flight from Seattle to Denmark. It had a couple of different stops, I believe, but eventually I finally arrived in Copenhagen, Denmark, bright and early in the morning on Saturday. And we had a lot of work to do. So obviously, the trip was business and pleasure. But, you know, it was a weekend, so we tried to focus on doing some fun stuff first. And of course, I got a chance to meet up with my good buddy Srisa. Srisa has cameoed in many a Duckbricks video before. I don't know if I've ever explicitly called him out by name, but he's a really close collaborator. We work on a ton of startups and side projects together, and this was just one of them, which kind of brought us out on a very impromptu trip to Denmark, which was super exciting. I was looking at my calendar for the entire month of May, and I had realized that I actually had one exact weekend where I was not busy during that entire month where I might be able to go. In fact, I booked it back in April, and even then, I had something every single weekend until this one. So I was like, okay, I could stay home and I could make videos and do stuff, or we could go to Denmark and do some really cool work together. So of course, that's what we ended up doing. Well, Srisa and I got in, and of course, we got the classic Christian Faber treatment. So if you don't know who Christian Faber is, just to give a brief overview of who he is the co-creator of LEGO BIONICLE. Essentially, he came up with the entire idea, he came up with a lot of the ideas for the original characters, the world, and most importantly, the gigantic twist at the end of the story, which, spoiler alert, everything was happening inside a gigantic robot. So Christian Faber is very, very well known for his work on Bionicle. Some would say he's the most passionate about it, and interacting with him, you could really feel that passion come to life. He cares so much about Bionicle, and that is really cool. But the thing is, as I discovered more and more over this trip, Christian Faber is responsible for a lot more than Bionicle. I knew he was pivotal in creating LEGO Star Wars. I think most people might not actually know that, but he was directly responsible for a lot of the creations and early ideas behind Star Wars. He hand-sketched the original logo. He was able to actually put together the box art and packaging design, and even direct all the commercials for LEGO Star Wars back in the day when it was first being created. In fact, he was so pivotal that he was sent the Episode 1 story Bible before Episode 1 hit theaters. Imagine that. That would have been so crazy to get that in like 1998 and essentially be told the entire story of Episode 1, every character, every angle you can see every character in, all the merchandising, the story, just kind of in a document, which he did show me on the trip, which we're getting to. But not only was he pivotal in creating LEGO Star Wars, but he also did LEGO Racers, LEGO Technic logo drawn by him, Legoland, the Legoland logo, also made by him. Almost every single original LEGO theme, and even some licensed ones, he definitely had a hand in. LEGO Batman, even some other stuff like, what other themes? I mean, LEGO Elves, he did the logo for that. LEGO Nexo Knights, he was part of the early conceptual design. Almost every LEGO theme out there, he has some piece of concept art floating around in his archives where he has touched it in some way. So it was super cool. Christian Faber is the coolest guy ever, but the last time that we met, we had about like a day, less than a day, really like half a day, to meet, to hang out, to have a meal, and to dig through Bionicle bins. And that was crazy and amazing, and I barely scratched the surface. So of course, I had to go back and do it one more time. But this time, we actually got to meet his incredible team. Christian Faber recently has left the original ad agency he used to work at called Advance, and he is now working on starting up Copenhagen Rig, which is this really cool virtual production studio, which is really revolutionizing the way that companies can do animation and do pre-visualization and all sorts of motion capture projects under Copenhagen Rig. They are really creating some revolutionary technology, and it was just such a joy to be able to actually go into Copenhagen Rig and interact with people not named Christian Faber, because we actually got to meet a ton of other folks on the team. Thomas, the CEO of Copenhagen Rig, was so much fun to talk to and super, super knowledgeable. And Adrian, the guy who they kind of have running business on, was super cool, especially for my friend Srisa to talk to, because he has a really deep business background. And given that we were on this as kind of a work trip and a fun trip, it was really cool to also be able to discuss business with the guy who created so many things that are so pivotal to me in my life. And I definitely feel incredibly lucky that we've had this opportunity, that we've had this connection and this understanding with each other. And I feel like it is just so cool to have all of my worlds collide. Like, Srisa probably couldn't care less about LEGO unless he's drunk and watching Ninjago, upon which it becomes his favorite thing and he only wants to watch Pythor, but that's another story. Otherwise, couldn't care less about LEGO, and he is a very business-oriented guy. He is a trader at Jane Street in New York, and he literally trades $4 billion of commodities every day. So he's super busy, super talented, absolute genius. But to see him be able to go into Copenhagen Rig and have a financial conversation with people working there was just so cool, because I felt like we were bringing the two different worlds together. So while Srisa hit it off with Adrian and Thomas, and they talked business and what they were working on and all sorts of stuff about the industry, I got a chance to step back and go to the back room with Christian Faber himself and reopen all of those bins of old LEGO documents. And oh my goodness, I found some pretty crazy items that I am absolutely thrilled and can't wait to be able to share with all of you later on in future videos.
This has, what's it called? Stickers.
Oh, I see that.
So we didn't have to draw the logo, which was really, thank you, because I also had to draw that logo every time.
And this is original, like you did the sketches for the Pirates launch. Yeah. That's the first location.
I think this is the first location picture, and it was of course heavily inspired by Hook.
Of course, yeah. Wow.
And just to say, there's so many different things in these stacks. City, nature, environment.
Yep.
So getting the reaction from the kids, you know, how do you see this? That it's a city, and I remember all this sort of, a city is something where you're not allowed to go alone.
Yep.
There are restrictions, there are dangers everywhere. It's the world of the adults.
Sure.
I'm not free, I can't play.
Oh.
And we were staying, you know, that was what we got from, and when they saw the city from above, everybody said it looks like something that's been bombed.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, how do we
Oh,
do
man.
So that was why we had all these
different concepts.
nature things coming into it. So this is for test purpose.
But the character designs here,
That's
like,
just done out
was
of
it just
yeah.
random? Like, because this almost looks like it's like a Liwa as a Taraga. So a lot of people are curious, like, was this ever considered?
I think it's Jan Kjær's interpretation of them in a more what you call it, tech. If these are these are sort of the
more natural environment.
ones,
Here's what it looks like for the other characters there. So that makes sense.
Give them a bit more
Interesting.
a bit more sort of shielding, and
Because when somebody modeled that mask, and then I'm so glad we have more
These
here
are
that I
much
didn't
more
notice.
simple.
Because yeah, oh, this is so
also
cool.
it's the shape of the volcano is sort of, so it was to have
Yep.
the same things in there, but what stories would they tell
Makes sense.
up against one of those fast-moving construction toys that came out? They tried to make. They actually
Snap?
produced it. Yeah, Snap. Yeah.
This was Snap.
We wanted to make it, to call it Wiz. This is the location.
I'm not going to name every single item here because I'll probably dedicate individual videos to many of the things that I found, but Christian Faber was actually kind enough to gift me some items for my birthday because I literally was traveling. I think I got back the day before my birthday, so it was cutting it pretty close, but he was able to actually donate some stuff to the LEGO Museum, which I eventually want to build out, which was super, super exciting and also very humbling for me, and I absolutely will be treasuring these documents. I've already framed many of them and put these little plaques underneath that describe what they are, and I absolutely do not take this responsibility lightly. I will be using high-resolution scanners to scan everything in. Some of the documents he's given me are scans of the documents, so they're not the original copy. Others are originals, but no matter what it is, I will be sure to document everything. It is a long process to make sure every single piece of information he gives me is documented, but it's one where I feel is really worth it, so I can't wait to do that. But we're digging through the bids, and I was finding some insane stuff, like the original LEGO Rock Raiders logo he worked on featuring a rock monster instead of the actual logo that we know of today. He had a whole Insectoid story Bible. So LEGO Insectoids, the classic space sub-theme, which didn't really have that much of a story, well, turns out it did. He had a full-on story Bible with sketches of the insects, of the spaceships that are supposed to emulate the insects, the characters, the timeline. It was absolutely insane just how much effort went into telling the story and developing these worlds, these creative worlds, and obviously, the Bionicle stuff was so cool. I got to see some early plans for Generation 2, ideas for another construction theme which never came to be, some of the really interesting early designs and ideas around what eventually became DC Superhero Girls. Did you know it actually started off as a homegrown LEGO theme? But that's a whole other video to itself before Warner Brothers stepped in and made it a DC thing. So that was crazy to learn the story of, and just so much more. Nexo Knights, his original designs, called Son of a Knight, where it was a very slapstick, almost Monty Python-esque comedy with no futuristic elements at all. There are just so many interesting sketches, designs, artwork pieces, different bits and pieces of story and lore passed in through documents. It was a literal treasure trove, and I cannot wait to share just a little bit of what I've learned, because there's so many LEGO secrets hidden there, and I can't wait to dive more into that in future videos. But of course, we had to do some other stuff other than just spend the entire day just digging through his bins and bins of history, which I'm very grateful for and I'm super excited about, but we were there for business as well, so we had to go out and do some work. But after getting some work done, we got a chance to sync back up with the Copenhagen Rig team, where we got a chance to go out into Copenhagen City and actually explore. the last time I was in Copenhagen, other than September, was probably when I was around either 9 or 10 or 11 years old, somewhere in that time frame, where I actually literally visited Denmark to go to Billund. But of course, if I'm going to Billund, I'm going to go to Copenhagen at the same time. And that was a really, really fun trip. But since I was so young, I remember almost none of it. I'm sure I could dig up some old photos of baby duck bricks going around Tivoli Gardens, but I really just didn't have that many strong memories of what exactly I did there, so it was almost like exploring a new city completely fresh. And Christian and his team were kind enough to go around with us and show us the entire city, walking down this beautiful street of boat docks and restaurants and open street markets. The weather was beautiful. Now, I do hear we got pretty lucky. What I heard from Christian and the team was that it typically was, at least at the time we were coming, supposed to be pretty rainy and cold, but for whatever reason, it was actually really sunny. So we got very, very lucky, and I'm very happy for that. But it was beautiful out, the perfect time to actually visit a new city and just exploring with somebody who, and I do not say this lightly, but someone who has been my childhood hero for years, and someone who created these stories and legends that were so formative to me as a kid growing up. Was so surreal, and it just felt so special, and I was honored to be able to go around with his team and to explore a city together. So of course, for dinner that night on Saturday, we had to go to the legendary Sticks and Sushi restaurant. Now, Sticks and Sushi is where Christian brought myself and Robert last September, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. They had some delicious barbecue, exquisite sushi. Oh my goodness, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. But of course, we had to roll it back to Sticks and Sushi, had a great conversation over dinner, and then we about wrapped up. You might be wondering why I wasn't jet lagged, because the time difference from Seattle to Copenhagen, it's not quite a 12-hour reversal, but it's almost. Like, it was almost AM to PM, because when it was evening, I was awake. When it was like daytime, I was falling asleep. But I feel like the easiest way for me, so my trick when traveling to get over jet lag, the first day I always do a Lego related activity. And that will mean that no matter how sleepy I am during the day, I will be awake. Now, if you're watching this video, like, imagine you are peak exhausted, you want to go to bed, it feels like it's 1, 2, 3 a.m. But then the creator of half of Lego's themes sits down and is like, hey, you want to see some concept art from these bins? You're not going to say no. Like, you're not going to say, I'm good, I'm just going to take a nap. So that was the mentality I put myself in, and so I was so excited about what we were doing that I didn't even feel tired at all. Like, it was such a rush. It was starting to hit me during dinner, and anyway, we had work calls to get to. So dinner, we wrapped up at around like 8:39, and we were like, okay, let's call it a night, let's go back to the hotel, take our work calls, and call it good. So Srisa and I were in work calls for like an hour, hour and a half. And in case you were curious what it's like to be on an internal startup call with myself and Srisa after we both have had literally no sleep and just want to get done with our presentation, well, you can take a look at that very productive meeting now.
There will also be the events viewing panels for procurement. And each of these panels will be customized and filtered for each team. We're willing to eat most of the dev cost only when Collab is complete and fully up to the sides, bringing a total to about 200K, which is still below the hourly market rate of development.
Eventually it's 10:30. I'm showered, I'm in pajamas, I'm tucked into bed, I am ready to sleep, and all of a sudden, I just hear Srisa calling.
No. 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 No.
It's Saturday night. How can we not go out and experience Copenhagen nightlife? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know, dude. I'm so tired. I literally got no sleep on the flight here. That's another story because I was flying and somebody didn't like how I was reclining, so they just were kicking my seat the entire time. I thought it was a kid, so I let it go, and then I turned around and it was like a fully grown woman who was just spending the entire like 12-hour flight kicking and shaking my seat for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, no sleep on the flight, so I'm literally running on 0 hours of sleep. Based Srisa is like, we've got to go out. It's Copenhagen. So I'm like, okay, it's Saturday night. I guess why not? We might as well explore the city at night because we're literally only here for 3 days. So it's 10:30, we go out. By the time we get back into the real thick of the city, it's 11. And we start looking up like bars and nightclubs. And I figure out that people apparently, I don't know, I don't understand it. Folks are just built different in Copenhagen because even in, like here in Seattle, most like bars and clubs, there's not really any clubs, but most like nightlife places close at 2 a.m. So at 2 a.m., you're done, and that's it, you're going home. Nothing's open. In New York, you might get lucky, and most places maybe close at 4 a.m. Oh, 4 a.m.'s pretty good. Like, if something's open till 4 a.m., you're there the entire time, and you're closing it out. Like, that's a great night. I have never once seen a place open, not 5 a.m., not 6, not 7, but open until 8 a.m. And it wasn't even open till 8 a.m. on just Friday and Saturday night. These clubs were open till 8 a.m., like, every single day. To the point where I was like, there's no way that's right. Like, that cannot be right. But no. It was opens midnight, some even opens 1 a.m., closes 8 a.m. That is what I'm talking about. That is how Duck Bricks rolls. So I was like, okay, well, we gotta take advantage of this and see what it's like. So we go out to this bar, have some really amazing drinks, get a chance to just even talk to some locals, which was really cool, just getting a chance to hear what life was like living in Copenhagen. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just go to a new city and just talk to people and see what it's like to live there. So we talked to some folks, heard about life in Copenhagen, we shared stories about life here in the US, and then it was time to go to the clubs. Before I knew it, it was 1 a.m. So we were going club hopping, we were checking out all the different places in Copenhagen, and wow, that was a really cool experience. I will say that one of my favorite things to do in a new city, and I think I mentioned this on my last travel vlog I did about Chicago last week, but I just love going to a new city and experiencing everything the city has to offer. The museums, the food, the tourist attractions, the non-tourist attractions, the shops, and even at night, the nightlife, the nightclubs, and the bars. I want to feel like I've explored almost everything there is to do in a full 24-hour span in the city. So it was super cool being able to experience what nightlife was like in Copenhagen, because obviously I'm used to mostly stuff in the US, and I guess I've been to quite a few in Singapore and Asia, but it was very, very different. It was super interesting. The music was totally different. They were playing a lot of like EDM related stuff, but it was an artist I hadn't even heard of. Like European artists were performing, and it was super cool. I gotta say, the vibes were some of the most fun that I've ever been to at really any club. So that was a ton of fun. And of course, Srisa and I get back to the hotel at like 7 a.m. I gotta say, the clubs in Copenhagen defeated us. Like, we always, whenever I go out with Srisa, we're always like, look, we are out until the place closes. We're having fun. We're out anyway. We'll catch up on sleep later. But by 7 a.m., I was like, oh man, I'm feeling pretty tired, dude. Like, I could keep going, but my battery was like here, and now it's here. So he was like, yeah, me too. We go home at 7:30. I know, so embarrassing. We got defeated. But then, of course, we had work to do the next day at like 8:30 a.m. So I think we got an hour of sleep the first night, which was more than I got the previous night. So we got an hour. So we get an hour of sleep, wake up 8, take a call, finish our call, go back to sleep for like another couple hours. So I got like 3 in total. But then it was another weekend day, so it was time to explore more of Copenhagen with our friends Christian Faber and the crew. So we got out, I think it was around 10 a.m., which is when we met up, because I remember getting up for a call. It was all like a blur to me. I remember waking up early morning for a call, going back to sleep, and then going out. So it was crazy. But we got a chance to go out, and they actually had a whole plan to go on a boat ride with us, which was super exciting. So we boarded this really interesting concept for a city boat cruise, and it was essentially like a small-ish boat. I think we had about 8 to 10 people on it, and the entire point of the boat was that you're supposed to have a conversation with strangers, and you're not just there on a tour where the tour guide just talks at you the entire time and you never interact. We spent the first 20 minutes of our boat tour parked at the dock just talking to other people on the boat. And it was really cool because it was really intimate environment. The question that the tour guide asked was, if you were to give a TED Talk, what would it be? Which is perfect because Christian and I had both delivered TEDx talks before, so we literally just said that. When we went around the boat, everybody shared what kind of talk they would give. Definitely not for everyone. I think there were definitely some people on the boat who were like, hey, I just signed up for a tour. Why do I have to talk to people? But for me, again, I'm an extrovert. I love meeting new people, so it was really cool being able to hear about people and what they were doing. Our tour guide on the boat, she was actually studying medicine at the time and was gonna give a talk about, I think it was gynecology. So that was really cool. Like, it was super, super interesting to hear about what other people are involved in, what other people are working on. So I had a great time. And then, of course, we set sail, went around the city of Copenhagen. And Copenhagen is beautiful because there are little canals that kind of weave through the city where you can take boats down. It reminded me a lot of Amsterdam and other European cities like that are kind of coastal in the way they're situated, where you could take little boat tours and go on a nice exploration of the city as you're on a boat. And it was just really beautiful. And along the way, I don't even know, I wish I was recording some of this because this was so crazy. Christian Faber was just pointing at different buildings, being like, oh yeah, that's where I worked on Scala, like top secret, like in 1990 or 1980 something. And yeah, those are the development offices. Lego used to own those buildings, and that's where we developed Scala. And I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Weird, but awesome. And then not 1 minute would pass before Christian Faber would then go, oh yeah, and that's the building where we shot the original Star Wars commercial for Lego, which featured Darth Vader using the Force to reassemble different things. And my mind was just blown on the tour. It was so funny because at this point, everybody on the boat, we all gave introductions, so everyone on the boat knew he was really involved with Lego. And the tour guide just kind of sat back at one point and let Christian Faber point out buildings where he did Lego stuff. It was one of the most surreal moments ever, but it was so, so cool. Definitely super, super fun. And I just learned a lot during that time as well. I didn't even know Christian Faber was involved in Scala, but he basically is responsible for all of it. He also did Lego Snap back when it was called Lego Wiz in its development time frame, where there was a wizard morphing Lego pieces to look different. There was a story behind that too. That's crazy. But it was really cool just hearing all of these amazing stories from him while we were on the boat cruising through Copenhagen. And of course, once we reached back in a loop, we had seen the city, but also gotten a personalized tour of all the different places Christian Faber had done Lego work in, which was obviously the most special thing for me. So that was Sunday, and moving on from that was the boat tour. We had, and then we had lunch. So lunch was at this really, really incredible place, and it's kind of hard to describe, but it was basically this open market with all sorts of different cuisines around the world. And it was very surreal to be able to go around this market and check out all the different things that they had available. So for instance, there was a Philippine stand, a German stand, an Italian stand, a Chinese stand. Every single one had just a little stand for almost every single country that you could think of with a cuisine. There was African food, Moroccan food, Egyptian food, Middle Eastern food. It was all over the place. Yes, there was even an American stand selling burgers and chicken tenders. So it was absolutely wild to see all sorts of different cultures and cuisines gathered in this one open air market. And so, of course, I did the Duck Bricks classic of disappearing for 30 minutes and coming back with 6 different countries' food orders. I was very hungry at that point. It was already 1 p.m. and I hadn't eaten anything earlier, and we also had gone out all night the night before, so I was starving at this point. So I was chowing down. I can't even remember every single thing that I got, but some of the stuff that stood out, I mean, I gotta say that it was definitely the Filipino barbecue they had there. It was really good. And I also remember the Moroccan chicken being delicious as well. But everything was just so good. Even the Italian pasta, I had some pasta and that was super good. So an amazing food experience. We even were joined by other members of Christian Faber's Copenhagen Rig crew for lunch, like Jonas, and all the other folks got a chance to join us. So it was a big group lunch. We talked about the goals of their company and what they're going towards. And it was super exciting for having just a lunch to talk about that. And then after lunch, we got a chance to go back to Copenhagen Rig. Obviously, Srisa and I did have some work to do, so there were a couple of work meetings here and there in between. There was a reason why we flew out there after all. But of course, for Duck Bricks, I want to talk about the fun stuff and the travel experiences and the stuff I can actually talk about publicly instead of the confidential NDA'd up work items. So we got a chance to really get an inside look at what they're doing at Copenhagen Rig. And before we knew it, after spending the rest of that afternoon just getting a chance to have great conversations and also digging a lot more into those LEGO history bins, it was time for dinner. Now, dinner was at a great place called Tivoli Gardens. Tivoli was actually the inspiration for Disneyland. Walt Disney was visiting Copenhagen, Denmark. He saw Tivoli, and that was kind of where he got the idea of a theme park in general. It's a crazy story, actually. Tivoli Gardens is one of the world's first and oldest theme parks ever, and that's where Disney got the idea to make his own parks. So this is the originator. It was super cool. We went into Tivoli Gardens, and yes, there's a LEGO store literally right outside the entrance, which is so perfect because the LEGO store is always great to visit. Had a pretty good dinner. I will say the dinner was, I think, fine compared to all of the other food we had. It definitely was food that we were eating in a theme park. It was way better than theme park food in America, but I also will say it was fine. You know, I had like sausages, steak, potatoes. It was a very like traditional Danish dinner where it was okay, but I think some of the other food that I had, like the lunch, was so good that it just made this one feel just okay in the meantime. Then, of course, we were in a theme park after all, so we had to try out the rides. And we were trying our hardest to get Christian Faber and his team on the roller coasters, and none of them would do it except Chad Thomas. Legend Thomas said, look, I'll do one roller coaster with you guys. It's gotta be the easiest one, like the chillest one, but I'll do it. So me, Srisa, and Thomas, Srisa and I, we all went up and got a chance to ride the roller coaster while Christian and Adrian watched, so that was so much fun. We got one of the three to go with us, so that was awesome. And we even got to go around Tivoli Gardens with the entire group. Eventually, Adrian and Thomas had to head home, but Christian just was chilling. Like, he was like just hanging with us. So we were going around trying the roller coasters. He was even photographing us and doing slow motion videos. So you can actually thank Christian Faber for a lot of the footage in this vlog, because he literally was just taking my phone and filming the whole time. So that was so much fun. And we were at Tivoli. It was like 10 p.m. and I was like, Srisa, my man, we have to go home. It's time to sleep. You know, we didn't sleep at all the night before. We didn't sleep at all last night. It's time to go to bed. And he agreed for once. For once, Srisa agreed. But we took bikes, so we rented bikes, because I love biking in a city. So we were actually biking to all the clubs the night before, biking around the city this time. So we're biking back to our hotel. It's a quick, like, 30-minute bike ride. And we're biking past a movie theater. And Srisa sees that Furiosa's playing, and he's like, dude, we've got to see the new Mad Max movie. I've heard and hearing so many good things, and to be fair, so was I. I'd also heard a lot of good things. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, it is pretty late, but you know, I have been really wanting to see this movie. So you know what? Why not? Let's go see Furiosa. And he was the one who convinced me to go. Mind you, I would have been fine. I was ready to go sleep. Like, I was ready to pass out, and he was like, oh, we gotta see the movie, and I was like, I mean, I do want to see the movie, so fine, we'll see the movie, and then sleep. We go into the theater. Not 1 minute passes. The movie hasn't even started yet. I look over, and bro is gone. He is flat out asleep. I'm pretty sure he was snoring. Now, Unlike Chad Duckbricks here, you see, I lock in. It doesn't matter how tired I am. If I'm watching a movie, I will be locked in. I'll be awake to see the movie, because if I sleep through it, I can't tell people that I've seen it. So Srisa goes in, the ads start playing, bro is passed out. I'm like, okay, he's gonna wake up for the movie though. The movie starts. I shake him to wake him up. Bro is dead to the world. He was like, nah, puts his headphones in and goes to sleep, just curled up in the theater. So I'm just sitting there, like, essentially by myself with Srisa sleeping next to me, watching the movie, which, mind you, was very good. And it is an injustice that Furiosa did not do well in the box office, at least here in the US. That's so stupid. And original fun concepts for movies. I mean, I guess it's not that original because it is a sequel to a 2015 movie that was a somewhat reboot of a really old movie. Well, really old, like 80s, 90s movie. So it's not, but it was a fun movie. It wasn't a big franchise movie. I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. So I saw the movie, and Srisa saw the movie. And by that point, it's like 1 a.m. We get back to the hotel and we crash. Finally have a fairly decent night's sleep. I think we got up at 7:30 because we had calls. So that was a good 6.5 hours. Do you realize how rare it is for me to get a good 6.5 hours? Like, oh, I felt like I was a new man. I was born again on Monday. Unfortunately, Monday probably has the least amount of stories to tell, except for one very cool one, because we were working the entire day, essentially. We were just sitting in meetings and working and going back and forth. But we had a lunch break. And I turned to Srisa and I said, bet, let's do something fun in this lunch break. So Christian Faber pulls up and I'm like, do you want to like find a used Lego store? And he was all for it. Not only was Christian Faber all for it, he said, oh no, don't worry. I know of a used Lego store to bring you. So I was like, King, let's go. So Christian picks us up. Srisa stays in the car and like takes a nap or something. But he drives me out to this insane used Lego store. And y'all know I love used Lego stores. This was like a used toy store. It wasn't just Lego. I love used Lego stores. You know, I love exploring. I love seeing stuff. Exploring is one thing. Being in a used Lego store with the creator of 90% of the items in it, just sitting there and watching as he goes, oh, hey, that's like the Technic Ferrari. I did that box. And then him proceeding to tell a crazy story about how he actually got like the box art approved by the then CEO of Lego. That was an unforgettable experience. And I want to say, Christian Faber, if you are ever in the US, I will bring you to all sorts of used Lego stores because I want to hear those stories. And it's things that you never would have thought to ask. Like, I would never have asked him about the Technic Ferrari sets. But then, just because we saw it in the used Lego store, he was like, oh yeah, I worked on that. And this is the story behind it. So it was so cool. Honestly, one of the most surreal experiences that I've had being with someone. I know I keep saying this over the video, but it genuinely was one of the coolest experiences ever. To be there while he was just telling these insane stories.
I did the campaign for that.
You did the campaign for that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That is the one I was not allowed to buy.
Is that not for sale? Is this for sale too?
It says not for sale.
Oh, I gotta. Oh my goodness, there's like look at this. Oh, and there's.
They're so nicely packed, I think.
Look at all those train pieces. Crater plates. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I gotta get this Belleville house. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that. It's almost overwhelmed. And this.
And the old stuff. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, Fabuland house and yeah.
That was one of the
and the Lego flag there. Oh my goodness.
This looked like one of the first Lego pieces I got. I got this motor.
Yeah.
With cogwheels. I remember that was my father brought back from Billund.
Really?
You know, he delivered the first robot to the factory.
Really? Your father? That's so crazy.
A Yamaha robot.
That is, I didn't even know that. I didn't know he was involved with Lego either.
And I was like, when he came home, I've been to a meeting in Jutland, and he had this present for me. It was like, suddenly like, okay, my father works with somebody who makes toys.
Then that's how you gotta get involved.
And my mother was a stewardess, so you know, traveling and making toys.
That's so perfect.
I think this is the original, isn't it? Yeah.
Like racing sets
the
for Lego.
The line was blue. They had done the style guide like this.
Yeah.
And then they entered with Ferrari.
Yeah.
And they could not get anything approved with a blue box.
It's because they needed it to be red.
Yeah, well, that was the natural. So I did the design that I thought it should be.
Yeah.
And I had it brought it in a meeting. And they were like, you didn't do that. You know, you're going up against everything we've been designing and so on.
Yeah.
But they brought it back and then they put it on in a meeting room.
Yeah.
When they had the discussion. And Kel, he's like a Ferrari, he owns a lot of Ferraris, Kel Kiel.
Oh yeah.
He went to the room and said, what is this? Why don't we do this?
And that was how you got Ferrari done. Really?
So I got this call. Okay, your design has been approved. There were no comments.
No comment, just do it.
So do all the boxes, all the different boxes in this look.
That is crazy. So he himself stepped in and said, we gotta do that.
His own style guide. Because of and that's why I say, show it, don't tell it.
Yep.
And of course, I may or may not have gotten a little bit too much at this used store because the prices were amazing, because we were in Europe, in Denmark, where the prices were just insane. They had Scala. They had vintage Lego, like pre-minifigure figures. They had a lot of really old stuff. They did have a Bionicle store display case that unfortunately was not for sale. And you know what? If the guy who made Bionicle asks you if it's for sale and you say no, there was no chance I was going to have any shot at convincing them. So Christian went up and was like, can I buy that? They were like, no, sorry, it's for display. He was like, I made that. And they were like, cool, not for sale. So, you know, it is what it is, but it was very cool to see a Bionicle Baraki display, which was very funny how they just didn't care. Like, I mean, they thought it was cool, but like, it didn't matter at all that he like made it and it was his like graphic design and everything. They were just like, nope. That's a store display, we're not selling it. Whatever, understandable, you know? But I did get a lot of other stuff. So much stuff to the fact that I actually had to leave all of the boxes back at Christian Faber's offices, which, mind you, he made the logos for and designed. So one could say I was contributing to memorabilia and not just leaving stuff that I couldn't pack with him. But all the boxes are sitting in Christian Faber's office. They have found a new home there. I just took the sets with me. And that haul was definitely one for the ages, because I found some stuff that you literally cannot find anywhere in the US. And I've been on the hunt especially for Lego Scala. If you are selling Scala, I want complete sets. I don't want bits and pieces. I want complete sets. I don't care about instructions. I don't care about boxes, but I do want the sets more or less complete. Please hit me up, because I am trying to do a crazy video on Scala, because I feel like that would be a really cool video to do. So I've been on the hunt, but they're just non-existent in the US. I'm not even convinced that most of them were sold in the US. So going into a used store and seeing them there was absolutely insane. So of course, we eventually had one final dinner with the entire gang. It was awesome. We actually did a bit of grocery shopping beforehand. I got like a battery pack, I think. I got some Lego magazines. We had a delicious dinner at a place that Thomas said he actually used to bring his wife to. So that was really cool. It was a great Italian place, delicious dinner. We then parted ways, went back to the hotel, and this time it was my turn to Srisa and go, hey buddy, yes, it is Monday night, and yes, we have work tomorrow and travel tomorrow, but it is our last night in Copenhagen. Don't you want to go out and have some fun? So, Srisa at first was a little against it, but I convinced him. We go out and we go back to the one bar we went to Saturday night, had a great time there. I think we even hit up like one of the clubs, which was actually pretty busy on a Monday night, which was crazy. Got back to the hotel. By this point, it was 3 a.m. and I had to leave for my flight at 6 a.m. So I was like, we might as well just stay up, you know, get adjusted to the time zone. So of course, me and the boys watched Challengers in bed, as one does with the bros, with the homies, some would say. Had a great time watching that. That was actually my third time watching that movie. I've seen that way too many times, with just different groups of people. Srisa wanted to see it, and he hadn't seen it yet, and I thought it was great. So that was fun. And then we started watching another movie. He went to sleep. I was still watching. Finally, it became time to say goodbye to Copenhagen and head back to Seattle. I passed out that entire flight. I mean, it was like, I think a transfer and then a direct flight. But I was gone. I fell asleep. I woke up in Seattle and I felt extremely well rested. And I got right back to Seattle, hopped on call, and got to work for Microsoft. So, all in all, this was probably one of the wildest impromptu weekend trips I could have done. And it's kind of weird to say that this was all on a weekend. Like, next weekend I could do this. Well, next weekend I'm in New York. But you know what I mean, right? Like, it was very surreal to just be like, yeah, let's just go over to Copenhagen for a weekend. But thankfully, out of all my friends willing to do something like that, and granted it was for business, so it made sense. But Srisa's probably the only guy where I can just message him and be like, want to go to Copenhagen in a couple of weeks, like on a weekend? And he'll be like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. So it was a great trip. This will not be the last time I go to Denmark this year. In fact, I will be going in September for Fan Media Days, but also with my good friend Jonathan, aka Mini Superheroes Today, visiting Copenhagen, seeing Christian Faber, seeing all the sites, and going all around Europe. So I'm looking forward to that. I actually just booked a lot of the stuff very recently for that. But that sums up our crazy adventure in Copenhagen, Denmark for a weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably one of the most jam-packed, activity-filled, work-filled, fun-filled weekends in my life. And I like to live life by the slogan, work hard, play hard. And I think that really exemplified this weekend, where we were working very hard, but we also were playing very hard as well. So I think without further ado, that's a good way to wrap up this vlog section of the video. And as per usual, let's check out that haul. Okay, so here is every single LEGO related item besides the Faber stuff that I got from that antique store in Copenhagen, Denmark. And oh my goodness, I literally just upgraded my review studio to be a larger size and it still barely fits. It was that much from just that one store. So obviously, the elephant in the room are these two gigantic LEGO house builds. And at first glance, they might not even seem like LEGO. Well, here's the thing. These come from the LEGO Scala line. And if you don't know what it is, Scala was LEGO's one of their first attempts to market at young girls and to basically make dollhouses made out of LEGO. Yes, if you zoom in, every single one of those pieces is actually LEGO or LEGO compatible. These are all official LEGO parts, but the way it's set up is just so strange. I've literally never interacted with Scala sets before, and now I kind of want to get them all for a video. So much so that I'm not even going to spend that much time right now diving into them in detail, because I have a feeling that I'm going to be covering them in a much more in-depth video later on, because they're some of the most bizarre pieces of LEGO history ever. Now, what's really cool is that obviously in the antique store, Christian Faber was talking about working on Scala. He was one of the people who did some of the original designs and mapped out what the parts should look like. So it was super cool just having us walk in and him literally go casually, oh yeah, hey, that's Scala. I helped design that. And then we would go look at something else and he'd be like, oh yeah, I made that logo. Just so crazy to have him there. But if you're curious as to what these sets are, they're probably the least interesting Scala sets I could have gotten. They don't actually correspond with any one particular set when I was trying to research what set it is. It seems like people just took different bits and pieces from other Scala sets and combined them, but the parts most closely match up with a set called simply Additional Room, where the set was literally no furniture, basically just a room, and the furniture seems to have come from a different set. So, you know what? I guess whoever got it was a big Scala collector, because obviously these are all part of one larger display, I'm sure, but it is still really cool to interact with Scala pieces. They come together so interestingly. And definitely stay tuned for more on that very bizarre piece of LEGO history coming very soon once I actually manage to obtain some more of the incredibly rare Scala sets. The other dollhouse style build is a LEGO Belleville set. And while I have some of the LEGO Belleville castles, I never actually got any of the dollhouses. So I kind of wanted to get this to check out what it's like, and it is such a strange set. It is really similar to Scala, obviously using some of the same design principles and even some of the same pieces, but obviously, there are studs instead of these Scala bricks, which obviously have a very different method of attaching figures, but it still is that very strange, larger scale, and personally, I'm super happy that LEGO finally figured out how to target young girls with LEGO Friends, which is currently one of the strongest LEGO themes. Now, this figure over here is actually a gift from Christian Faber. It was in his collection, and he basically said I could take home any strange or rare items that I needed for my collection for the museum. And this is Awkward. Now, Awkward is one of the rarest LEGO Galador sets ever. I literally have been looking for this for years, and I just was able to get it. I was completely blown away when I actually saw it, because I never thought I'd ever be interacting with the pieces here. I think only a couple have ever sold in years, and it is so strange as a figure, but so much fun. And yes, that suction cup actually works. moving onwards, there are a ton of other vintage Lego items here, and there's just a lot of really cool stuff to see. There's obviously a classic space spaceship. We have some really early Lego sets, pre-minifigures with the fire station here. You have a police station there, which was one of the first to actually include minifigures, released alongside some of the stuff like the Yellow Castle. So you can see that original Lego flag back there. And then moving onwards to here, we just have some of these older style of Danish houses all depicted before the minifigure came out. They had a ton of these early minifigure designs as well, so that was super cool to see, and just all sorts of really cool parts of Lego history. Of course, there were some more recent items as well that I was able to pick up, namely some of the minifigures from the European exclusive magazines like the Nightmare King and Batman up there, but then you even have some homemaker sets. There's a Lego Fabuland house, and of course that homemaker set did come with a sticker on the TV, which is so cool to see a sticker in such good condition. You got a rescue set that I didn't own yet, a Harry Potter set that honestly, I'm gonna have to check my collection because I might actually already own this one, but I don't think I have it fully built, so it's cool to get the finalized set. And also, a Lego Pirates raft, and of course, Christian Faber was responsible for many of the Lego Pirates advertisements as well, so pretty much everything you see here is related to Christian Faber, which is pretty crazy, especially those Technic competition figures. Now, there are a couple of sets that I didn't get to build yet, namely the barcode multi-scanner. I want to do a full video on that and hopefully have Christian Faber actually cameo in it because he was responsible for the promotion and marketing campaign of that entire set. So I think it's going to be awesome to actually have him talk through that, as well as one of the other Lego Technic classic excavators. Just didn't get a chance to build it, but overall, this was the haul from Copenhagen, and let me know in the comments if you want to see any more of these items up close or in depth, because there's obviously so much here, they barely fit in the display. But if you want to hear or see more, do let me know and I'll see what I can do to put out videos on some of these strange Lego items. Of course, we had to get a ton of items signed, both Bionicle items from your own personal collection, as well as a ton of really special Bionicle stuff that I brought to have signed. And definitely stay tuned because these are going to be future contest prizes, and we have a lot of really exciting collaborations coming up. So thank you again for doing this. And
this
I
is
really
so amazing.
It.
It's so great to be able to share all these things. So just getting them out into the community is it's amazing, and me signing it. If that makes a big difference, it's a perfect thing. Yeah.
I guarantee you people are going to go crazy because this is some of the most interesting items that we have here, and your signature just on it is the best part. What we actually found here is this original Bionicle Kanohi box. I've never seen this in my life physically before, in box form. And look, the masks are still on the inside, so we are definitely going to have a couple of these sealed. Mystery Bionicle mask packs.
That's actually how you unfold it.
There it is. So we'll have some of those signed. We got some sealed Borok sets as well. I think these are duplicates that you had a couple extras of. Got to get the Mctorin. This is what got a lot of people, including me, into Bionicle to begin with. And I also brought from my own collection. I think this is every comic I could find from my own collection. I think I have more at home, but this is all the ones that I could find to have signed for future prizes.
That's so amazing. I wish it would be the artist of the comic to sign it. Because,
we gotta get both. Yeah, I gotta track them all down and at one point. But
you know, we went to the meeting at DC when we started out this to choose the different artists for this project. So that was a really special meet. So some of these I've actually sitting and chosen for the project.
That's really cool.
So sitting here this many years later, signing it and working with you.
Yeah, it's a dream come true, for real.
It's a dream.
Well, let's get into it. Yeah. Look at that. Thank you so much. And I will say this is just the beginning because we actually have a number of other items.
Oh dear. You have to sign something as well.
Yes, we have something quite special first, and this one's actually from a team member here at Copenhagen Rig. Actually gave this to us to have us both co-sign it, and then maybe the black one would be better.
Here in the
And the two of us are going to sign this, and then this will be a future prize for a very, very special upcoming contest that definitely stay tuned in the next few months. I don't know when this video is going to come out, but
I should be the one drawing. That's so cool.
There we go. Now the two of us have signed it, and stay tuned because this is going to be something super exciting in the future. Oh, that's so good. Yes.
And original I use, you know, this kind of writing for everything.
Yeah.
So that's why...
oh, this is just how you wrote that?
Yeah, I wrote like
nice.
Connecting, yeah.
This is awesome.
Just gonna run ahead here.
Yeah. Sorry, your hand's gonna get so tired after all the things I'm asking you to sign. But...
That's perfect.
The Tanakh, of course.
I can do that. Can I do it?
Oh, right there, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. We got one of the Victorian here.
Maybe here?
Yeah. Look at this. This is just so surreal, actually seeing the signature on there. And why don't we get some of the mask packs in? I think we have don't need to do every single
have
one.
To do it up here, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Or let's get the silver.
Oh yeah.
So you can sign it with the silver
thin
marker.
one. You need to test it out here.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I think it's good. Yeah.
Where do I?
Wherever you think. Maybe
so I don't ruin anything.
Maybe like here, do you think?
That way up?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Wow, look at that.
And you know, the cool thing
and it's a technique.
This logo, I did that. Yeah. And it still survives. You know, this is really almost from the 90s.
Yeah.
That logo.
Did you do the Technic
Lego
text?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Really?
That design. Yeah.
That's still the logo today. That's
yeah.
crazy. I didn't know you designed that. I didn't even know that myself. I am literally learning about this on camera right now. I had no idea that you did the Technic logo.
A lot of those logos, the Legoland logo, the Lego Racers logo, the Lego Technic logo, and of course the Star Wars. So nice to have these.
I know.
Light up eyes.
I never owned any of these when I was, I mean, this is before my time when I was really getting into Bionicle, so I've never seen these sealed bags in person before, which is so cool to see. Makes you want to open one up.
Almost feel bad having so many.
No. We'll definitely make sure these get distributed to big fans of Bionicle.
That's so amazing.
Okay,
yeah.
so I think we did. Oh, so you did 2 of each kind. That's
probably
cool. That's probably good.
Yeah.
And I'll have you do some of the comics as well. Yes, these ones. Yeah, these actually were from the magazines that I had when I was a kid.
Oh,
so I found them.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Should I put the black or
maybe silver will look good? We'll do it on this one and see.
Okay.
How does it look? Oh.
It goes a bit into the...
No, I think it's good. It's shiny.
It reflects in a nice way.
It's reflective. Look at that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you for doing this again, and you can find different spots to do it in. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. I remember this is my original one when I was a kid getting this, and I saw that picture and I was like, oh, I gotta check out what this is about, because...
And you know, this style of drawing...
Yeah.
It was like, okay, is this too edgy? Is this, it had this sort of wildness about it.
Yeah.
So it has this really, it's really sort of, punk.
Yeah, the imagery that they did for Bionicle 2006. This was a very interesting year for them.
Yeah, because the shapes were sort of really, it was like, they had sort of extra shapes on top of everything, so...
And the lighting and everything on this is so.
It should be the artist writing this, but okay, I did the logo.
You did the logo, and one of these days I'll have to track down. It was Sager, I think, was his name.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
I've never seen this front.
You haven't?
No.
Do you want it?
No, that's fine. No.
It's
just so fun that you know we didn't see every copy coming out.
Yeah. These are all the original. Wow. Oh, and then that was, of course, Chris, this was your rendering, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so this was actually, maybe we should have you sign the back as well, because that was literally your image.
This is a hand drawing. This is 3D render, and remember we couldn't build this. We didn't have time, so this is
It's a
3D.
placeholder.
It's a placeholder,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then
Motoro there.
we
Yeah.
had to say, okay, what is this connection? We have the micro and the middle, sort of the human size, and then we have the giant.
Yeah.
So we get this this full perspective.
Oh, that is perfect.
So should I? Is it okay to put?
Yeah,
it?
wherever you want. Yeah.
This one I can. This is
That
what
one is-
I've done. So
yeah.
I can really.
That is really
Yeah. That's a poster.
Christian Faber original
teaser poster
rendering there.
I think I'll put it up here.
Oh, this one. Thank you. Oh my goodness. And this was, of course, we were just looking at the prototype drawings and sketches of the fall of Atero.
There it is.
Yep, that was what you were discussing. Yeah.
I have never seen this comic.
Really? Wait, there's 2 copies. Just take
But
one.
it's amazing to see this.
That's because that's your. That's
Yeah,
your
I've never seen
arena.
it used in this way.
You should see it. Yeah.
Because
And this was when the Skrull invaded
Yeah.
Atero. So then.
because we built it for the 3D purposes of the packaging and all the artwork.
And
But-
look,
yeah.
there's the actual destruction.
Oh god. New things coming
Yeah.
up all the time.
I'm glad that you're seeing something
Yeah,
you
that's
haven't
real-
seen
that's
here. Then,
amazing.
like that's really cool. Oh, and then these are the final ones. These are the most important ones. Like,
Whoa.
yeah, but we'll start.
I have
This
not
one-
seen them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I'm
no,
glad you get to see it.
That is.
Well, that's the first 2009
Wow.
comic that we got, which was introducing Barra Magna, and then look at it.
That's like the boxing fight.
Yeah, like the boxing.
Yeah.
And there's the arena again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they got it all different angles, so
This is so nicely used.
and too much.
I'm glad we did all that concept work because it ended up somewhere, which
Yeah.
is really nice.
And it's in the background of here.
Yeah, do you want it
Sure.
on this?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Very
it's cool
nice.
that it's
Reflective.
yeah.
And then look at this. Did you also do like the imagery for the Valley of the Maze and this?
We did the idea about it,
Yeah.
but that it should the iconic shape of the shield we got from the Lego designers.
Nice.
So the whole idea that it was a maze they had to go through.
And it was a maze shield with the razor
yeah,
saw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe do you think it will? Yeah, I'll see. But there's something. I have a bit of design in there.
Yes,
The
yes.
Mask of Life.
There's
is,
a piece that you've
yeah.
designed, and of course,
Yeah, that's wow. I have never seen this.
that's
before.
you. Those are your robot designs.
What?
This is the Journey's End comic. This is the one of the.
I've
last
never
ones.
seen this.
Really? Look at that.
Okay, that's wild. Okay. That's really surreal seeing this so many, and then the golden tour coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the battle between the 2 giant robots.
I've never seen the comic version.
This image is so cool.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
Okay, this is something different.
Yeah. I'm glad you're actually getting to see this, and I think this is the final.
Yeah.
This is the final Bionicle comic issue that we ever had. So.
And it has the how in the back.
Yep.
It's beautiful. Yeah, we did the campaign for all the golden parts and the tour coming and getting dressed up in the golden at the temple.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then here's you can see it's the ultimate defeat. So the planets being drawn together, and then and this that image, of course, and you can see the stars back there, and of course Makuta getting defeated.
We're up in the big size here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that image is amazing as well.
And the Reformation.
Yeah.
So the reunification of the Spherus Magna coming back whole. It's
Mask of Life.
Yep.
And you know what happened to Mask of Time there?
Well, there's some theories.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. This is so special because you can see this was the final Bionicle comic issue that we got, which is so cool.
I've never seen this before.
Well, there you
It's
go.
honestly legendary right here so many years after.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for doing this again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
This is so special.
Just to say, the legend continues.
Yes.
And it's because of the collaboration. It's the whole thought about together we are strong. And I think this proves it, because it both happens inside the story, but also on the outside, in the reality.
Yeah.
When you come around, when you meet around creative projects and share stuff, it just gets epic and so much better. So this is a perfect example through time and space.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
This
has been so much fun.
The best weekend ever.
Yes, and I can't wait to have everybody see what we've been working on, because there's some really exciting things coming on the horizon very soon.
Nudge, nudge. Yeah.
All right.
See you. Bye.
Of course, I had to end the video by showcasing just some of the really interesting photos I took of documents that just personally stood out to me, or things that I found interesting for all sorts of different themes. Whether it be Bionicle, or Racers, or Hero Factory, you name it, there was something of interest for everyone. And I obviously don't have the time to share literally every single thing I found. That might be a topic for a different video, but I did want to showcase some highlights of just really interesting pieces of documentation and early scripting and development for LEGO themes that I don't think has really been shared outside of just this video, and hopefully in a future museum where I get to really dive into every single one of these documents. So obviously we have a bit of a Bionicle focus here, and we have original game sketches for the Toa Nuva right there. This is a depiction of Metru Nui when they're trying to figure out what the look and feel would be, and then we even have an original type of story bible from 2002, which describes what all of the characters were up to, and one of the most interesting documents that I found here because it actually talks through some of the original story details. Of course, speaking of original story, we have the first script to the Motunui movie in 2009, which of course eventually was called The Legend Reborn, but back then it was just scripted as a movie focused on Motunui. Who knew Christian Faber even worked on Monster Fighter, so you can see some sketches there. And now we're in Hero Factory territory, where we're talking about how they were trying to figure out the brains, which originally were just core parasites. That's the original hand-drawn Star Wars logo for the LEGO Star Wars commercial, and those are even some slides that they showed in the commercials themselves. Of course, these sketches pertain to Battle Peak, and a lot of the documents here also pertain to Hero Factory in some way. As I mentioned before, Christian Faber was the designer of all of these Star Wars box art as well. So he hand drew a lot of the backgrounds, he photographed the sets, he did all of the design for it, so it was super cool being able to see just a little glimpse of history in terms of what he was working on all sorts of different LEGO themes. If you watch my video on converting my LEGO collection into a museum, I've already started to put up some of these items on display that he was kind enough to actually give to me for display in a future museum. So those are framed in my collection, and I cannot wait to talk about those more, but there's just a sheer abundance of documentation here. And again, especially for stuff like this, like the Insectoids Story Bible, there will be full in-depth videos on them once I actually get a chance to scan them in high definition, because I just haven't had a ton of time to do that, but once I do, there will be an insane deep dive into all of these concepts. Obviously, you can see just a little bit of Faber's influence on all sorts of different LEGO themes as we peruse the documentation and drawings and sketches here, and it was just super interesting hearing especially a lot of his original plans for Hero Factory, where, and yes, this is a topic for another video, but spoiler alert, the Hero Factory wasn't as good as it seemed, and they actually were behind the manufacture of the villains as well. They were creating both the supply and the demand, the twist behind Hero Factory that unfortunately was never gotten a chance to be revealed in the story, so that was too bad, but it is what it is, and this is just a taste of what's to come. Alright, and with that, that sums up our entire Copenhagen, Denmark experience. This was probably one of the craziest trips ever because I literally left on a Friday after work, got a chance to be there on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday we had work off, but Tuesday I had to come right back, showed up early in the morning, and then I threw a massive birthday party just a couple days later here in Seattle, so it's been a pretty crazy week. I'm about to go off to Orlando BrickCon, which is a convention over in Florida, so the craziness just keeps on going, but I hope you enjoyed this look at our trip to Copenhagen, Denmark, and let me know what other things you want to see the next time I go to Denmark later this year in September. That's all. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. And big thank you to Christian Faber for being so hospitable and showing us around. That's all, and bye for now.